most blatant mass assassination you could ever see. You've got a situation where, first of all, they get all those people on one plane. I found that quite strange. I mean, members of the royal family never travel together, do they, on planes? Or, you know, the main ones anyway. It's come down, and you can go on the internet, you go on my website, and you can see film of the crash site, and people were not allowed near it. Journalists were not allowed near it, but somebody got there with a camera. He's now dead, by the way. And was told, no uncertain terms, get away or else. You can hear it on the, you hear gunshots going off on the film. And there are no bodies, and there are no luggage, and it didn't actually crash from a great height, so you know it's pretty much intact. Where are the bodies, and where is the luggage? There's nothing. It's just a plane and debris from the plane in this forest. And the Polish administration were acting in ways that in many areas were not supporting the agenda. For instance, they rejected the whole swine flu thing. They wouldn't have it. Wouldn't have the mass vaccinations and stuff like that. And they were also doing things with relation to Europe that didn't support the European agenda. And in one fell swoop, one plane crash going into Russia, which is an administration with Putin, etc., that I wouldn't trust to tell me the time in a room full of clocks, they've ended that whole Polish regime in one crash. They're back to a blank sheet of paper in Poland. We've got to start again, including academics, historians, all these things, all these people. And no way that was an accident. No way in the world that was an accident. It was mass assassination. And because the mainstream media are so pathetic, in fact, pathetic is not an adequate word to describe them, they get away with it. Okay, here's the news. There's been a plane crash and it was an accident and it's terrible and now we're going on to the next story. What translated they're saying night after night, hour after hour is, here is the news. We have been told by officialdom that there was a plane crash, it was an accident, and it was bad weather, and the pilot landed in the wrong place, and all the Polish government basically is dead, and it's terrible, and there's going to be a funeral, and who will go? Will the Russians go? What about, oh, do you think it will be politically right if they don't go, or all that stuff? Not one question. Is what these officials have told us true? No. You know, go on the internet, you find the real journalism. I mean, of course, there's rubbish on the internet. Of course, there is lots of it. But the internet is a collective reality. There's some fantastic, fantastic cutting-edge journalism goes on the internet. And they're finding out things. The BBC and ITN, they never asked the question. 9/11. What did they ever question 9/11 and all the anomalies in the 9/11 official story? Never. And this is how they get away with it. The HARP technology in Alaska, with its increasing number of connected satellite operations around the world, has the ability to create earthquakes, no problem. The one in Haiti was blatantly created. When you do the background to that story, first of all, you find that in recent years, the last decade and more, they have started to find major supplies of oil in that region, around Cuba and around Haiti. The president, before the present one, I think his name was Astride, he actually wrote a detailed document, a book I think it was, detailing the resources becoming available to Haiti that were coming to light. Surprise, surprise, suddenly there's a kind of a coup and he's kicked out and banned from going back to Haiti, his own country, by the Americans. Bill Clinton a total 100% frontman, drug runner, by the way. It's all in my books, along with the Bush family. They were working together in places like Arkansas. Suddenly gets appointed by the United Nations UN envoy to Haiti. What? Bill Clinton's been appointed UN envoy to Haiti? Why? Why Clinton? Why? What? And then this massive earthquake goes off. And as was pointed out many times in the immediate aftermath, vast numbers of American troops pour into Haiti immediately, not with supplies, but to take over the main airports and take over the country. And aid organizations were complaining they couldn't get into Haiti with the aid because the American military had controlled the main airports and were not allowing them in. This is why there was this great lag time when these people in terrible trouble were getting no help. Because the idea was not to give help to the Haiti people. They couldn't give a damn. It was to use the earthquake, which they knew was coming, the inner core did anyway, to completely control the country. They've now taken over the country. They've just had a meeting in America with Bill Clinton. Why Bill Clinton? Oh, because he's the UN envoy, isn't he, to Haiti? And his wife, Hillary Clinton, cover story on the arm, they're not a couple at all, never were. And the present president of Haiti, who was in on the meeting, and all the details are on my website, and he's basically sitting there, just saying, no, sir, the Americans have taken over Haiti. What else have they taken over? All the resources of Haiti. And this Haiti support help package that they discussed means that corporate America comes in and takes over Haiti and tells people where they're going to work and all the rest of it and how Haiti's going to be. They've taken the place over. It was a coup by earthquake. And when you understand the technology, and especially where you've got these fundamental geological fault lines that from which earthquakes come, if you know where to target that fault line system with energy weapons, that's what we're talking about, directed energy weapons, the equivalent of a laser, in other words, that kind of feel, that energy targeted weapons, you can create that movement that causes the earthquake. And if you know what you're doing to the extent that these people do on the inside, you can even, to a large extent, decide what the effect of that earthquake's going to be and where it's going to most powerfully hit. And of course it most powerfully hit in places like Port-au-Prince, the capital, where it brought down, so symbolically given what's happened since and what was always going to happen, it brought down the government building, didn't it? It brought down the palace, it brought down all the main governmental buildings, just collapsed them. And that's what they've done literally, and that's what they're doing symbolically in the aftermath of the earthquake. And people need to realize that it is possible to create these earthquakes. It's possible to create tsunamis in the same way by creating earthquakes under the ocean. And it's possible to create, by energy-directed weaponry of the kind that they're dealing with, that they never tell us about, it's possible to create volcanoes too, especially ones that are close to being active.